Good evening. Nice to see everybody. Welcome to the meeting of January 11th, 2012. I can hear myself.
Approval of the minutes of the December 14th regular session, approval of the minutes of December 14th executive session, and warrant CF9, D407, D408, L26, L27, L28, L29, L30, L31, L32, FF10, FF11, FF12, F13, R211, R212, R213, and then payroll 12, 7, 11, 12, 21, 11, and then 12, 12. I'm taking them for a motion.
We'll take the first one, a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th, 2011 regular session. Mr. Gill?
I move the committee approve the minutes for December 14th, 2011 regular session.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hayes, thank you. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. And all those abstain? 2. Thank you. The motion to approve the minutes of December 14th, 2011 executive session, and they will be released. Do we have? Oh, Mr. Hayes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th, 2011 executive session for release.
Okay. Do we have a second? Mr. Vail?
Whoever.
Okay. All those in favor? 5 in favor and 1 abstain?
Abstain, correct.
1 abstain. Thank you, Linda. A motion to approve the warrants that were read by Mrs. Benton. Mr. Marchese.
Make a motion to approve the warrant as read.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Hayes. Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous, Linda. And the motion to approve the payroll. Mr. Marchese.
Make a motion to approve the payroll 12/7, 12/21, and 1/4.
Okay, and do we have a second? Mr. Vail. Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous. Linda, thank you. Okay. Tonight we have Michaela D'Ambrosio again with us. Thank you. We're glad to see you. Happy New Year. And we have an update from the high school.
Yeah, this sports season started and it's going well. The girls basketball team came in second in their tournament in Disney over the winter break. Boys and girls hockey both have a game tonight. Track has a meet tomorrow. Both basketball teams are playing on Friday, and wrestling has a meet on Saturday. Rotary Interact is combining with local heroes over the next few weeks to collect items for the troops and send them overseas. The musical The Pajama Games opens this weekend on Friday and Saturday, and then next weekend, Friday and Saturday as well. The Junior and Senior Job Shadow Day is coming up the first week of February, and mid-years are next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think everybody might have seen the rehearsals going on as we came in. They're using the hallways and the auditorium. Looks to be a good play coming up. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Good to see you. Okay, our next item of business is superintendent's report.
We have 3 items on the report. We're going to hold off on one because we have another guest coming. But like commendations to some high school students this evening. Rachel Graba, who had a poem entitled "How Can Student Athletes Make a Difference in the Community," was selected to be published in the 11th edition of Sportsmanship, A Game Plan for Life, and I included it in your packet.
Yes, thank
Want
you.
to congratulate her. In addition, we had 41 students heading to state-level DECA competition. Wilmington High School had the biggest win ever at our DECA district competition. 53 students competed. 41 are now qualified to go to our state competition in March. Special congratulations to Krista Anderson and Megan Kuhl, who are the DECA advisors, and to all the students who participated. This is really an incredible accomplishment, so we want to congratulate all of them.
Thank you. Do we want to go on to the
Sure, into the budget.
budget? Okay. We're going to move on to old business, FY 2013 budget.
Since last we met, Mr. Ajero and I have reduced the budget by $630,746, bringing the increase to $1.1 million. You have a presentation in your packet. Can walk you through. On December 14th, our preliminary budget which really was a wish list, was a 5.51% increase over FY12. We're recommending a reduction of $630,746 to bring the total increase to $1,230,330, which would bring our budget request at this time to $32,569,830, which is a 3.5% increase over FY13. This budget is not final yet. We're still working with the town manager on the final numbers. But the budget would allow us to maintain current staffing levels, continue the successful full-day kindergarten program, continue to offer improved business technology courses, continue virtual classroom, ELL program, the technology initiatives that we've started over the past few years, continue to provide early intervention at the kindergarten level, literacy specialists at the primary schools, and increase in a strings teacher. And in addition, through, hopefully, I still have on the table, and we believe it's going to be a capital item, conversion of the middle school to wireless will be a capital item, which is what we're hoping to do is the sixth grade class, present sixth grade class will be the first class entry in the high school. And so we're hoping to get those students up to speed, try out some iPads and other devices with the sixth graders, and so by the time they get to the high school, they'll be able to use all the wonderful new equipment. And we'll have the middle school and high school will be wireless, and then we'll be coming back to do the other schools. You'll be hearing more of this throughout the next few months of what some of our ideas are. I hope to, through reorganization, move to a K-12 STEM coordinator and K-12 Reading English Language Arts coordinator, hire an assessment data coach, and I brought this evening job description for you to look at. If this job is approved, obviously you'd have to approve the position.
Thank you.
Reconfigure the middle school schedule, hopefully increase one of our library media teachers to by .2 in order to lead the library media program. I'm also going to pass out a description of the wireless network.
In layman terms.
Please.
Thank you.
I'm hearing, and maybe Representative Maselli can tell me better, but I'm hearing that we're looking at level funding of Chapter 70 for the FY.
That's what the discussion has centered around right now.
Now.
In fact, I was with the chairman of Ways and Means. We had him up at Tewksbury Hospital a few weeks ago, and he said that's what it looks like.
That's what we had heard today at our superintendent's meeting, so.
So is that a good thing?
Yes.
It's a good thing.
As long as there's no reduction, we'll take it.
Does anyone have any, is it time for us to do questions? Yeah, questions. Mr. Marchese.
Just a couple of questions and comments, I guess. I noticed that in the adjustments that you made, there was a slight increase in salaries and a large decrease in the non-salary items. My concern with the non-salary items, I'm sure the salary was just an oversight or something, or a change or a level. But my main concern is the non-salary items in terms of maintenance of buildings and things like that. And that's always happens. Is deferred maintenance keeps getting deferred. So I just want to make sure that we're not pushing things too far out.
What we're doing is we are using our ed grant money, educational job money. We will be buying the supplies this year and taking out we took out the technology piece because that will be going in a capital plan. I know what you're saying. Mr. Hayes had requested the maintenance plan, and I will get that from Mr. Hooper. As you know, I'm applying for an MSBA repair grant for the north windows. We're hoping to do the north windows next year, and then the west and Woburn Street. The town has a plan in place. In addition, I'm not sure if they're going to, Mr. Kyra talked about a couple of roofs. They haven't finalized it yet. I'll be able to bring it to you at the next meeting.
Okay. And then,
We're also going to be painting some of the school, like Shawsheen this summer.
okay, yeah, just to
Yeah.
go and tie with the windows, because the
Yes.
windows are so
No,
bright.
Yeah, no.
Well, other things like lampshades and things like that, because it always seems to be like a nitpicking thing with lights, and, you know, I mean, if you fix a light, it brightens up the whole room so much better just for minimal cost. The benefit's so great, so just wondering if we can move those things up on the
I
wish
will,
list
I
and
will
say.
bring Mr. Hooper's maintenance plan.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Do we have any more questions at this point?
This is a quick question. Maybe you could refresh my memory. The assessment and data coach description you just sent out, is that anticipated to be a full-time
Yes,
position?
yes.
Is there an anticipation that the role could possibly grow into, in addition to sort of the support role, a little bit of like a research role, and maybe author some articles or do some, actually work on publications and maybe
Great
develop
idea.
grants associated with curriculum development and longitudinal studies across school-based populations?
That's a wonderful idea. We will, please, feel free to suggest in writing some ideas for this, any of you. I love that.
Yeah, just to broaden maybe the job description a little bit, so it's not really so, not that it's wholly clerical, but it seems a lot of it's support, and I think I'd like it to be fairly substantive as well.
We want someone to really help the teachers understand the data results and turn that around into how do we change our instruction in order to reach all students. Thank you.
Any more questions? I just have one question. When we were talking about the iPads going to the 6th grade, are we talking about parents paying for these, or are we talking about the school system?
No, this is the school system will be, well, actually, the town will be paying. That's going to be part of the capital plan.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Good, any more questions on this? If you have any more questions, we're really going to discuss this. We'll know the final number. Could I just remind you that January 30th, would that be right, is the town manager's presentation of the budget that we all like to be present to support him and thank him for what he gives to us, what the town decides is for our best interests. And the 25th, we'll be finalizing, Superintendent Benton will know what the number is that's come from the town side. And so we'll be finalizing. So if you have any specific questions on the budget, you can send them to her beforehand. And when we get our next packet, when you see what it is, and we'll have to take our vote on it that night, the 25th. Okay. Okay. I think we can go back now. Our visitor has arrived. And so we are going to do Superintendent's Report, item number 1.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. In October and November, the children of the Woburn Street School in Wilmington expressed their appreciation to some of our courageous wounded soldiers by writing letters. Kristen Taza was involved in this, and Mr. Cardello is here this evening. I'd like to ask you to come up to the table with Kristen. Yeah, bring the other chair,
Move the
too.
other chair over there?
Yeah.
That's great.
And Representative Maselli is here as a special guest this evening.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
So all of the students in Wilmington have been involved in different projects with different communities, organizations, and this was a,
This is an acknowledgement letter to Ms. Tauser from the Department of Army.
oh, okay.
Well, thank you very much.
And Kristen Tizer got involved in a project because of a relationship with Mr. Cardello, I understand.
What else is in that bag?
You know, Kevin Garnett, I think.
Mr. Cardello is the chairman of iPods for Wounded Veterans, and we can turn the meeting over to him.
Yes, Mr. Cardello, we're glad to have you tonight. Thank you.
I'd like to also acknowledge Principal Arsenault, Wilmington Street School, from the audience.
My name is Paul Cadell. I'm the chairman of iPods for Wounded Veterans. We're a 501c3 nonprofit public charity, and we deliver iPods to the severely wounded soldiers at U.S. Naval Walter Reed National Medical Center at Bethesda in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, the Traumatic Brain Injury Unit. We see the soldiers that just recently come off the battlefield, less than 14 days, who are severely injured. We deliver iPods. We've expanded our program to iPads, Nook readers, Kindle Fires, and Nook tablets, and iTunes cards. And we have an expansion of this program called the Dear Soldier campaign. So I'm going to just start with this from the Wilmington November 9th Town Crier. As you can see, the Woburn Street students are writing their campaign to all the soldiers. And we came back and we made the Lowell Sun. This is Miss Tawz's class. And this program started on a trip to Washington about 14 and a half months ago. And veteran agent Lou Samaya found out from Walter Reed that they needed iPods. That's what, it's a technology society now. And it's iPods. But through the efforts of State Representative Jim Maselli and Administrative Assistant Nancy Cadigan, we were able to get a Class A security clearance so we could go down there. So our first trip we delivered 37 iPods. We wanted to get 50, but we only had 37. But we've constantly been fundraising, and through that, we started our Dear Soldier campaign. And this is where my grandson Tyler Cardello is a student in Christian's class. So she developed a letter, and this is what she's done here. It's a typical prototype, actually. And on the back of it, it says it's made especially for you by the second graders at the Woburn Street School, Wilmington, Mass. And these letters are so effective. It's amazing, to say the least. Unfortunately, what I have to tell you, only 5% of the population sees what I see. And the soldiers coming back, the multiple amputees. And it's, you gotta be a strong-willed person to go with it to see this. But it's an all-volunteer army, and I can't stress that enough. And these soldiers are doing 3 and 4 tours of duty. And unfortunately, they're coming back severely injured. Basically, they're 21 years old and under. We see all the service branches, special forces, everybody. We had this one soldier, we have to go room to room. We have to put new johnnies on because of their, from the bacteria. We had this one soldier, just this quick story. His mother was pacing up and down. We were giving out iPods. She was worried that we were gonna not see her son. And I says, no, we're not leaving the floor till we see everybody here. So we went down there. Unfortunately, His name was Mr. California because we can't release his name due to military HIPAA laws. He was a double amputee, he was 28 years old. Both his legs were missing. So we give him an iPod, we give him an iTunes card, and we're talking. The core of our committee are all Vietnam veterans. And, we're pretty hardcore guys. And basically how this started is that we didn't want our veterans being treated like we were when we came back. So we gave him this card, and it was a very emotional experience. And he said, "You have no idea what this means to me." And there wasn't a dry eye in the place, and my crew was there. And we all had to go back out in the hallway and regather ourselves, But this is how much these letters mean to these soldiers. And it's really a powerful thing. So Christian developed this program, and she has a model program, how to start it. We've had other schools contact us. I think the Kennedy School in Billerica wants to get involved with us. We are going back the weekend of April 20th, and this is expanded to our program. But I can't thank, first of all, Principal Arson. Our students know about veterans and Veterans Day. And we I wanted to figure out how we could get them involved, and that's how this started. So I really thank Mr. Arsenault for, having that vision. And one thing has led to another, and, I want to speaking tour next Wednesday in front of the Wilmington Rotary Association at noontime at Rocco's. But we want a speaking tour, and we'll start our fundraising for our next trip down there. Our undertaking is very expensive. As you know, an Apple iPad 2, the basic one costs $500. Nooks, Kindles are $200. And our corporate committee is, corporations get involved. This one company, Textron Defense Systems in Wilmington, they took less than 24 hours to get involved. They gave us $3,000 on our last trip. This one other company, from Teamster Local 170 out of Worcester, Mass, Hudson News. If you go through the airport, you see all their newsstands. They gave us $50,000 worth of brand new magazines. So when we go to a soldier, he gets 10 brand new magazines, never been read before. Hudson News has received our Community Service Award for 2011. Billerica VFW Solomon Post 8819 has received the Humanitarian Award for 2011. Edward Williams, the quartermaster for the Wilmington VFW, also the Secretary-Treasurer of iPods Wounded Veterans, has received the Humanitarian Award. And Christian Tarja has received the 2011 Teacher of the Year Award for iPods for Wounded Veterans. So I want to give a nice... And I want to turn this over to Mr. Maselli, because he's been with us from the beginning, and without his dedication, believe me, we could never go to Bethesda or Fort Belvoir without the security clearance. And it's probably like 10 pages of paperwork to get one person cleared. And I can tell you, from what President Obama has done, this new hospital in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, cost $771 million to build. It's the most advanced hospital in the United States. And they built special accommodations for all the families who have severely injured soldiers. It's about, you only have to walk like 800 yards from where you're staying to the hospital. So you stay there as long as you want, as long as these soldiers are severely injured. But this hospital is the most advanced hospital in the world for amputees, artificial limbs, traumatic brain injuries. And it's been enough of an uplifting experience for me. As you know, I don't know if you know, I do live television twice a week here for the last 20 years. But we've never done anything like this. And this program it might go national, but it started here in Wilmington. And Teamster Joint Council 10, in charge of all New England, they're taking a vote February 25th. That will be the official charity for New England Teamsters.
Great.
I also want to recognize Teamsters Local 670 Spaghetti Supper 50-50 raffle. They just donated 50 MP3 players for our troops down there. Also, I want to thank WCTV. They made our kickoff our campaign for 2012, and they started with our donation. I want to turn this over to Jim. I know Jim's been a lot through this, but he's been kind of like a guiding force. And State Representative Jim Maselli.
And now I'll try being brief. First of all, if there's truly a good guy in Wilmington, it's Paul Cardello, and it's not a mutual admiration society. He took this from its infancy, and this has the potential of going nationally. And the joy and the comfort that he brings to some of these soldiers who, as he said, are double amputees. Some of them aren't going to leave that facility for months. They'll be there for a long, long time. So this program has been great. However, he's also had the support of people like Kristen Tozer and the administration of the school department and Principal Arsenault to carry this even farther. And they carried it farther by writing these letters to these veterans who are basically shut-ins, who have some traumatic memories and have very, very few visitors over the year. So she launched this letter-writing campaign, and Paul is here tonight commending her for what she did. But more importantly, she has taught the youngsters in Wilmington what the veterans really do, what it really means, and what war is all about. And people do get hurt, and I'm not trying to understate it, but war is not a glamorous thing. And I'd like to present her with a citation from the Commonwealth. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Kristen Tozer, your participation in the Dear Soldier letter writing campaign to our wounded soldiers at the Bethesda and Walter Reed hospitals, recognizing them for their military service and sacrifice. It is through your program that your students have learned an invaluable lesson in compassion and community service, and also brought smiles to those in need. And Paul said it earlier, to see the uplifting by some of these folks who've had really no visitors for long periods of time. Your commitment and devotion to both your students and the community will be long remembered and recognized by all those who have touched. We thank you. The entire membership extends its very best wishes, expresses the hope of future good fortune, continued success in whatever you undertake. And it's signed the 11th day of January 2012, signed by Robert DeLeo, Speaker of the House, followed by James Maselli, State Representative, and Kristen, I'd like to present that to you.
Thank you.
No, we thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll say thank you to the administration, because you make these things possible.
Thank you. I would just like to say a few things. I'll be very brief. Thank you very much. When I was first approached, Mr. Arsenault and I met in the office, Mr. Cardello's grandson's in my classroom, and he asked if we'd be a part of the program. And what Mr. Cardello is basically speaking about is that I wanted to make sure that the identities of the children and that they understood how severely wounded these veterans were. So I asked them to not write anything negative in their letters, to write something about themselves that they may enjoy doing, that the soldiers would like to hear about. Also to thank them for keeping us safe over here in the United States. When I asked them to draw a picture, I asked them to draw a sketch of what they thought a soldier looked like, which was pretty interesting. We got from anything from pink camouflage with pigtails, and I made sure that I asked them not to draw anybody wounded and without any weapons. I wanted the pictures to be uplifting and safe. I didn't realize how large the program was, and I'm actually kind of speechless. I didn't realize I was getting this evening. So with that said, I just wanted to say that the one remarkable moment was when Mr. Cardello went down in November. My phone was ringing. I was in my car, and it was Mr. Cardello spoke first, and then he put me on the phone with the director of like human resources for the hospital, and this woman was so appreciative, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, we just sent a bunch of letters, and I was so overwhelmed by the phone call, and then I was able to speak to 2 soldiers after that, and that's when it really hit home. I think when I was teaching the lessons and I was getting the other teachers involved, I think it was, I really didn't know what was going on, but when I actually spoke to a soldier, and then Mr. Arsenault shared with me today that one of the soldiers wrote back to a 3rd grader, and he quoted something that she wrote in her letter, so that means he really remembered her letter. And there was also a letter, a very brief index card from a parent of a soldier in the Walter Reed Hospital, and just said thank you to the Woburn Street School. It was on an index card. It was as simple as can be, but it was postmarked, it was put in an envelope, they took time out, and it was very simple. So those were the touching moments, and I'll be honest with you, I really appreciate this, but I thought I was coming here this evening just to talk about the program. So I was a little taken aback. Thank the school committee for taking time out for having me here this evening. I noticed a lot of parents that are on the school committee that I had their students, and Mrs. Benton and Mr. Cardello. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I want to thank all of you, and my understanding is that the rest of the second grade classrooms will get involved at some point in the project, and
even some of the other schools.
In other schools in town. So.
Yeah, in town.
I just want to read this acknowledgement letter to Christian. This is from the Department of Army Warrior Transition Battalion, Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Ms. Tarza, dear soldier, campaign, Woburn Street School, Wilmington, Mass. Dear Ms. Tarza and class, it is a great appreciation that we'd like to thank you on behalf of Fort Belvoir Warrior Transition Battalion for the very special letters in your banner for the wounded, ill, and injured warriors here at Fort Belvoir. These letters in support of the Dear Soldier campaign were given to the warriors and has already lifted the morale of our soldiers. It is touches like such as this that helps us keep our soldiers focused during their healing process, and we could not achieve it without the wonderful support of students like you. Thank you again, respectfully, Pamela Wynn Lovelace, Outreach Coordinator. All right. So, Christian, that is for you, and also we have to give you this. This is from the entire committee for my parts, wounded veterans. Dear Christian, it is with great pleasure and appreciation that this letter is written, naming you Teacher of the Year. With your enthusiasm and support and initiation, the Dear Soldier letter to your second graders at the Woburn Street School, Wilmington, Mass. You have made the lives of hundreds of brave, dedicated, wounded soldiers much happier. Without your support of this program, we would never have been established. As Rear Admiral M.L. Nathan has said to us at Walter Reed National Medical Center at Bethesda, your generosity changes lives. And Christian, you have definitely changed lives and inspired the wounded warriors at Bethesda and Fort Belvoir, Virginia. We are forever grateful to your kind service. Thank you sincerely, Paul Cadell, Chairman of iPods for Wounded Veterans.
Thank you.
And this is from the veterans at Walter Reed and Bethesda. These are our most recent songs, if we can see that. These are the posters that were made by Christian's class. The top one is for at the nurses station at Bethesda, and this is Mr. Massachusetts, and these were hanging in his room. So Christian, that is for you.
Thank you.
And let me give you all this but without Christian, taking this upon herself, this program will never be like what it is. Also, we want to recognize Principal Arsenault. You can come up here for a minute. please. Dear Principal Osmo, it is with great pleasure that this letter is written thanking you for your support, and Mrs. Tauser and the second grade students for the Wilmington Street School writing the Dear Soldier letters. You have helped us make hundreds of lives of brave and committed soldiers much better off. Without your support of this program, it would never be such a success as Rear Admiral Nathan has said at the Walter Reed National Medical Center. Your generosity changes lives. Mr. Arsenal, you have given the Wounded Warriors encouragement to overcome their disabilities and help change the lives of the Wounded Warriors at Bethesda and Fort Belvoir, Virginia. We are forever grateful for your kind service. Thank you, Paul Hill. So, hopefully you can find a spot, Mr. Arsenal. And we have this one for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, I want to appreciate the students at Wilmington Street School. As Christian said, they worked very hard at this program. And once they got involved in it, they really did. And when we came back, we gave, troops sent back all kinds of maps of Washington, D.C., and Christian put it up in the room, and they starting to know what Washington, D.C. means to all the students, means to the United States of America. And also, this last trip, they sent back a disc, which showing, well, I think, Christian, about 200 pictures of Washington, and showing the Smithsonian Institute and all that. But like I said, this experience for me and everybody that's involved in this has been a life-changing experience. And for all the troops, like I say, they just want to know that they're appreciated. And for what little we're doing, it's just, I just can't thank everybody from this community. And like I say, we drive down there in a van, because now we can't take too much stuff, and the van's loaded, and we're driving down there. But all the corporate support that we're receiving, it's great, and hopefully, what we see in the future, hopefully we can get Barnes & Noble involved and make this an educational program through the VA hospitals in each state. Because we just came back from West Roxbury, the traumatic brain injury unit. It's basically the same way there. You know, after they come back and after they come home, they still you can see depression comes in, they get lonely. And, you know, whatever we can do to cheer them up is just greatly appreciated. And for all the response we had, it's just been great. And I know this is a program more schools want to get involved, because we got this April 20th visit. We're supposed to see another battalion down at Fort Belvoir. But we've made such an impression with this program. When we left on Saturday, on Sunday, at 5 a.m., we were the first subject at roll call for Alpha and Bravo Company. So I just really appreciate everybody, and we never thought it would be like this, but like Jim said, this has turned a little snowball into an avalanche here, so we got a lot of work to do to plan for April, and we're on a corporate fundraising campaign to try to raise money. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Arthur.
Thank you.
Very impressive.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good night.
So wonderful to see education in the community like this. It's fantastic. All right, our next item, we'll go back to old business. Item number 2, concussion policy and procedures.
On July 19, 2010, Governor Deval Patrick signed into law an act relative to safety regulations for school athletic programs. The legislation, Chapter 166 of the Acts of 2010, called for the creation of training programs targeted at preventing and treating head injuries suffered by student athletes. This attached policy has been developed by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and we've attached a concussion management protocol to accompany the policy to fit the Wilmington High School. This was developed by Athletic Director Ed Harrison athletic trainer Kate Doherty, head of nursing Doreen Crow, and our doctor, and Kimberly Donovan, Sue Rowe, and Rebecca Brown, and all the nurses. I would ask that you carefully review it and get any comments to me so that I can bring this back at the next meeting for a vote.
Does anyone, Mr. Marchese?
Mrs. Ben, all the factors you just mentioned have already gone through this and reviewed it. The one thing that concerns me about this is that the big part of determining whether or not someone has a concussion is doing baseline testing. And now, are they going to baseline test all of the student athletes, or are they going to pick specific sports? Because I was just going to say, because you can get a concussion in any sport, basketball, baseball, volleyball, anything.
All students have to be tested.
They will all be baseline tested at the beginning of the year?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Hayes?
Just following up with what Mr. Marchese said, I also thought it was great that they not only include student athletes, but they also include marching band participants. And as a fellow marching band participant, as a former marching band participant, I certainly appreciate that. That can be a dangerous contact sport. So, okay. But no, I'm obviously in full support, and this is, there aren't too many sort of state mandates that I like, but I think this is a good one for sure, and I'm certainly in full support and ready to vote on it at our next meeting.
Dr. Quick?
I just have a question, and maybe you can answer. One of the, I hate to throw, I'm not going to name names or anything, but at one of the last health and wellness meetings, one of the kids there who was an athlete who was visiting had mentioned the fact that there were kids that were that were possibly thinking about making the baseline, taking the test, so that if they ever get injured, it won't affect their baseline. I don't know if you've heard that.
I have not heard that one, but Mr. Jarrett, I'm smiling at Paul because his daughter had gotten an injury earlier this year and had to go through all the, had to sit on the sideline, and unfortunately, what we're hearing is that lots of kids are thinking that they're not going to complain of having a headache because they don't want to sit out a game, and that's unfortunate. So it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if, I'm hoping that you can get it across to the kids that this is something that's extremely important and they need to take seriously, and not just, screw up the first baseline so that if something happens, you know what I'm saying? This is something very important.
I know, but I mean, that's really two examples of. But Kate Doherty, the athletic director, I mean, we will have her speak to all the kids.
That'd be great.
Because that's a good point.
Any other questions?
Well, I guess one negative, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One negative of the proposed policy is that baseline testing is only required every other year, if I read that correctly.
No, it said right in the beginning of the school year, I believe I saw that.
Every other year.
I'm fairly certain it's every other year. And additionally, if the student plays more than one sport, they only have to be tested once. Now, I'm not sure if that's medically acceptable, but and I'm no concussion expert or anything like that. But that to me, I'm a question mark with that. But if that's what the state is recommending, then it must be medically acceptable.
Okay, I'll double check it.
Yeah, thanks.
Could we also check on the last couple of years, how many concussions we've actually had reported? What's our average concussion?
Okay. Good question. Thank you.
And then I just had on the different people, I had one more question. Who in the system will be required to receive the training? That's on the first page here. To any training, the following persons shall be, that's a lot of people being trained.
Coaches or
Yeah, does that mean
trainers, yeah.
all of those people will definitely have
Have to be trained, yes.
Wow. Is this an unfunded mandate?
Absolutely.
Just want to mention that.
Not too bad, Mr. Representative Cellular.
Oh.
You should show them the list from last meeting.
Let's run over. Run and catch him. Thank you. All right, so if you have any questions, other questions that you want to get the superintendent before our next meeting, we'll be voting on that at the next meeting. New business. Oh, vote, I saw this at the selectmen's meeting the other night. This is a go so far. The vote to approve the statement of interest for the replacement of windows at the north.
MSBA has come out again with an accelerated repair program, and I approached the town manager and said, if I write the grant, will bring it before the selectmen, I'll bring it before the school committee, because I obviously think it's well worth it. We have beautiful new windows at Shawshene that cost us only half the amount, and so we got together and decided that North needed it the most next. We can only do one project. You can only submit one project at a time, because we obviously would have gone with 3 schools for windows and a couple of boilers, but they only accept one, and we think this is the top one. So I need for someone to read the motion exactly as is, which is on page 2, because we'll then need the minutes of the meeting tomorrow, so I can send them forward. If we can get those turned around quickly, I have to send them to the MSBA.
Right, who would be Dr. Quick? Thank you.
So I should,
Read it exactly. I know it's not grammatically correct, but this is MSBA.
okay. All right. Having resolved, having convened in an open meeting on January 11th, 2012, the School Committee of Wilmington, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest dated January 9th, 2012, for the North Intermediate School, located at 320 West Salem Street in Wilmington, which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority category for which Wilmington may be invited to apply to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Priority 5, replacement of windows at the North Intermediate School to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related energy costs. Existing windows are not energy efficient, leading to significant heat loss. Windows are not weather tight, leading to leaks during wind-driven rain events. The thermal panel windows will reduce heating costs and will eliminate window leaks. And hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the Wilmington School District to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
You're welcome. All right, do we have any questions or comments? Should we have questions or comments or vote? Is that
Yeah.
Mr. Marchese?
My question is, do you know what the level of funding would be? It would be 50% or?
Actually, we learned through the high school project that our number's gone up, and I believe it's 51.7% was the baseline, something close to that.
So if we got this, they would reimburse us 51%?
51.7 or 0.7 something percent.
For this program? Okay.
Dr. Quick?
So basically, from what you're saying is that basically anytime we go to the MSBA, it's always that same amount?
Well, it's based on a formula, yes.
Right, okay.
Yes. Now, the high school, we got more because we got extra points, because that was a whole building project,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So actually, you're getting the windows half price.
We're getting a lot of things
I
happening
know, I'm
nowadays.
liking this.
All those who'd like to get the windows half price. All those in favor
I'll
of the
second the motion.
Yeah.
Do we have a second? Robert? Mr. Hayes, thank you. All right, all those in favor of the motion? Unanimous, Linda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and our last item of business, the high school program of studies.
I'd like to invite our Principal Tracy and Assistant Principal Mahoney to come up to the table.
I was here to watch the Wildcat wrestling team beat my alma mater pretty.
I actually just got text that 48-26. I'm very happy because I
Showed
don't know if
Eddie
you...
Harrison how to text tonight as well.
Oh.
He was grateful.
I beat Burlington because actually I was at last week's wrestling tournament and we got killed, and my husband and I came, we got killed by Winchester, so I'm thrilled to see
They
that we
told you
beat
to stay
Burlington.
home tonight.
Yeah.
Our senior did well last week.
Yes, I'm thrilled on, yes, thank goodness. Good evening, Mr. Tracy.
Good evening, thank you. As you know, this is our annual presentation of the program of studies for the high school and preparation for scheduling for next year. We did not make a lot of changes this year. We're really spending a lot of time planning and getting ready for the next 32 months, I guess, with a new building and looking at all of the changes that will occur along the way. And there will be many, many, many. So we've tried to stabilize the schedule a little bit in looking forward to that. And also, with the new scheduling software, we'll be using the Aspen program to schedule for the first time this year. So we'll be a little bit different schedule than usual. We usually will start the first week in February to introduce the new schedule to the high school parents, and then move along through March, where we include the 8th grade coming up to 9th, and then by April start to put in all of our information into the software program so that we can have a base schedule ready for the end of the school year. That timeline will be a little different this year, as the training actually is next week. Mr. Mahoney and I will be going to training next week for 2 days, and then training again in March to help us to develop that with the new software. So jumping right in, as I said, not a lot of changes, but one of the ones that jumps out at some people is the computer applications. It's actually something that we dissolved a couple years back in place of the Managing Your Money, which is a state push. The state has been pushing for the some type of financial course or some type of required Managing Your Money course. We jumped in about 2 years ago, took up they offered a free curricula. We took that, tweaked it a little bit, and now have a course requirement for Managing Your Money in place of the computer apps. A member did question why, and the reality is kids know more than we're teaching them in that course. They come to us with many more skills than we anticipated along the way, and we decided as a staff that it was a good idea to take that out rather than lose time functionally for a semester reviewing what kids already knew. A lot of the skills that they need are both ingrained between 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and also the home. Many more computers have, homes have computers, high-tech devices, mobile devices, so they really come in with a lot of skills, and now it's up to us to really take those and apply them in the rest of the course and the rest of the curricula that we offer. Page 9, biggest change. We really want to start an internship program, looking at school a little bit differently and starting to take a look at how schools will change and schools will look in the future. We have a great opportunity in front of us to be able to make Wilmington High School look different and be a very different public education opportunity for kids. Instead of the usual lockstep, take your courses, quarterly exams, final and mid-year exams. This gives us the opportunity to get kids out into the real world in conjunction with the Common Core and the college and career readiness requirements built in the Common Core. This will allow us that opportunity, our kids that opportunity to kind of take a dip into the real world and get an idea of some of the things they like or dislike, and certainly to explore a little bit more before they go to college, again, helping them to make a better decision for a college choice. And we all know how expensive college is getting, $50,000, $55,000, some closing in on $60,000 a year. You don't want to make the wrong decision and have to go back and try again somewhere else because you didn't like it or it wasn't something that you thought you should pursue. So we're hoping to, again, with the addition of all the electives along the way in the past 5 years, to add an internship program during senior year in the last quarter. And when you look at senior year, by 4th quarter senior year, it's actually a reduced quarter. Seniors only go to school 168 days a year, 33 days in that last quarter, roughly about 6 weeks, which would give them the opportunity to do 1, maybe 2 interns at some of the many of the local businesses that we have. We've reached out to the PAC for assistance, to the SAC for assistance. So also we'll be looking at doing presentations within the community and linking up with our Job Shadow program, which has been very successful, over 100 kids going out on that. So what we'd like to do is pilot this for next year and get about anywhere between 8 and 20 kids involved, seniors that are doing well, that can meet the base criteria that we feel can, quote, handle that change. It will be different. It will take some adjustment, and certainly it'll be an advantage, I think, to a lot of the kids that are still in class for that last 6 weeks who may need the extra focus of attention, the extra time, almost an instant reduced class size, if you will, for some of the senior classes as these other kids move out into the community. One of the questions was asked, what would you foresee down the road if a third of the kids aren't there, then what do teachers do? If you're looking at an entire senior class, it's unlikely that they would all go out based on some of the course requirements and some of the things that kids catch up on and routinely have to take. So this buys us a nice opportunity for kids to try and make some better decisions and to get their feet wet, if you will, in many different fields, from accounting to police work to, some of these local biotechs and some of the even smaller companies that are within our community. It seems to us a good way to redesign senior year. You will see coming at you down the road, built into our 5-year plan, some other looks at senior year where kids will probably have some different choices along the way to, again, help in meeting the requirements of the Common Core and also connecting with, the business and the world around. We really want to take a look at how to get kids connected globally and how to give them a better idea at what's really going on in corporations and with business and industry, and to help them to get a better look at maybe some better decisions for their future, and certainly will help the parents along the way as they make decisions to spend all that money for college. So.
I'm going to hold you there, Mr. Tracy,
Sure.
just for a minute. Does anyone have any questions about this? Because this is major. Dr. Quick.
Mr. Tracy, do you happen to have any programs like from other schools that you have modeled this on?
Yes, we've worked with several local schools. We've talked to and gotten information and packets and some of the guidelines from Melrose and Reading. Also doing the program, doing similar programs, Lexington, Concord, Carlisle. So a number of schools that are already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Some schools do it slightly different ways, but very similar, where they release a smaller chunk of kids. And what we found is a lot of schools that have been doing this, they average about 50 kids, 40 to 50 kids out of a senior class, and that for us is just under a quarter of the kids, and probably a good chunk of kids. But one of the things I should mention with an internship, kids would not just go out and then disappear. They would have to come back and really reflect and then present what they did in their internship, what they learned, how they applied some of the things that they learned at school, and do that either in front of a committee or a group or something we're looking at is even bringing back some of the people that are involved in the internship program to help us out with that. So, and maybe some of you along the way.
Yeah.
So.
Mr. Marchese.
Will there be, I'm sure there will, but I just need to ask this question, but will there be some oversight in terms of, what these kids pick for internships? Because I hate to see this turn into like a work-study program, where these kids go out and they're flipping burgers at McDonald's. I mean, nothing against working at McDonald's or anything, but that's not the idea of an internship. So I just want to make sure it's more focused on,
Absolutely.
on a career.
Absolutely. And that's why we want to start small, because we want to develop the process to take a good look at what's out there, reaching out to the businesses, and then actually going there and seeing what kids will do. And along the way, looking at, 3 weeks down the road, going out and visiting and seeing what kids are involved in their internship, and talking to the kids, talking to the internship provider, and making sure they're there, making sure that they're involved and doing something worthwhile. I don't want to see kids going to an internship at the local pizza shop or anything like that. And I have nothing against those businesses, but we're looking at, what kids may want to do for the future.
Yeah, for a career.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mrs. Bonish.
So they would go out and get their own internship?
They could. We plan to field some through the work-study program, the job shadow program, in connections with that, and the career day program, to be able to reach out to some of those businesses and see if they would host some of these kids for a 6-week term. They could, though. Some in past experiences, kids have gone to Channel 5, landed their own internship, and gone to work there for 6 weeks, which is great. That's what we want them to be.
So it doesn't have to be within this community, the business?
No.
Oh, that's good. And I just had one more question. So I was just looking at how the interns study grade based on student attendance, mid-quarter review, and site evaluation. So you would get attendance from the, how would you?
Sure.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you would
absolutely.
coordinate it with the people who are working
Absolutely.
there?
We do that with the work-study program now. We communicate with the employers. Kids have to bring an actual pay stub, and we communicate with the employers for all the little things. You know, are they showing up? How are they doing? What's their interaction like? Are there any issues or problems? So.
And a site evaluation, what if it is something that's not local, then how would that happen?
We would get there. I mean, honestly, we'd have, if a student is traveling to Boston, I might have some concern there. You know, I'd really have to weigh those options of where kids are going, how far they go. But we really have to, you know, find the ways to do that, because that's I think it's worth, there's a lot of value in that program, and it's worth it.
Okay.
Dr. Glick?
I think you're.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Benton.
Mrs. Benton?
I just wanted to say two things. I was involved in this program in Lexington, and it was really extremely successful. These are students that are ready to go on to college. Some of them might not, or think they know what they want to major in, and what we found is, for some of them, the experience of being in an internship changed their mind. For others, it made them, you know, continue on that path. This morning at School Business Partnership, we're talking about in discussing this possibility with Analog. As you know, Analog offers a 4-year full boat scholarship for anyone who wants to become an electrical engineer. It has been at UMass Lowell. They're going to change that because they really want to get kids who are interested in electrical engineering. So it's not limited to UMass Lowell. But so we're talking about this program, and someone from Analog was suggesting this would be great, perfect for a senior to come work there, do an internship there for six weeks, because then possibly that would make them more interested in this wonderful 4-year scholarship and guaranteed summer jobs and job when they leave college. So those are just a couple examples of how it can work.
Okay, Dr. Glick?
Just one last question. Is there somebody that you would be putting in charge of this, of heading up, making these decisions, et cetera?
Yeah, initially, the assistant principal and I will kind of manage it so that we can develop that long-term look. The reality is there could be a possibility of freeing up people who you know, may have a smaller class of kids, who may be open, if you will, for that timeline. So we have to look at all those options and how they work for within the rules that we have to follow, you know, union rules and things like that. We really want to weigh that out. We do have a work study coordinator now who's you know, doing the work study, you know, reaching out and connecting and making sure kids are doing the right thing and passing in their paperwork and doing their reflections and journals and things like that. So it's certainly going to be a spin-off of some of the things that we're already doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Hayes?
Just a couple of questions and a comment. Just the one comment I would make is, you know, I think it's great that you're allowing so much flexibility for the intern students. You're right. Students may design their internship program by remaining in some classes and participating in the internship program part-time. So kids could still, if they so choose, stay within the sort of traditional academic setting for at least part of their final semester, their final quarter, and that comes in handy, as you mentioned, maybe if they're in an AP class, for example. The question you're going to get a lot, and I know the answer, but for the folks in the audience and at home, is will students on internships who don't go to school in quarter 4, will they still be eligible for sports and all their extracurricular activities?
Absolutely. They will be involved in the school program, school-based program, and get all the credits available to them and all the opportunities available to them.
Great. And then just one last personal comment is, in college, I had internships at a law office for a couple of years and decided, I didn't want to, go in that direction. And I wish I had had the opportunity here at Wilmington High to internship my senior year. That really would have been hugely beneficial for me on a personal level. So, in addition, I must admit, suffered from senioritis a little bit my senior year. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. So, I certainly understand how unproductive at times, the fourth quarter can be for a senior. So, I'm in full support. Not just for that, but for a lot of other reasons. I'm in full support of this idea.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'd just like to ask what input the WTA had into this, and what's their reaction?
Brief conversation with the president, and certainly future conversations to come. You know, the reality is, I just had a conversation yesterday, they do realize the changes that we will be undertaking in the next 32 months and beyond, and I think, given my conversation with the president, that there are certainly many opportunities that we will have to take to discuss changes along the way, not only this one, but probably 50 more that will impact various aspects of Wilmington High School and how we do business. And we had a great conversation about some of those things and how that, you know, that could be done or would be done or what it would look like. You know, we don't even know what some of these things will look like. So I think there's always that open opportunity to have those conversations, and there is a good understanding about the future of education. I think it's a positive. I think it's been positive and supportive along the way, including even with the new building items that are coming up.
I think it's important that you keep them right from the beginning here in the loop, and that they're not taken by surprise by something that's so radically different, that they're part of the formulation of it. That's really important to me, that happens. I loved this idea. As a former teacher of seniors, when the students like Robert got senioritis,
Sometimes it kicks at junior.
could blow your hair out. And this is really, it's another thing about us expanding into the community and making the real-life experiences meaningful for the students and giving them guidance through that. I can't think of anything that could be better. It's excellent. Great idea. Thank you. Any more? Okay, we can move on.
Some of the other changes, a little more small changes, things like dropping courses, drop masterpiece of literature. Kids just didn't sign up for it. We've run it for several years as an option. We didn't get enough kids to run it. I think we ran it 1 out of the past 3 years, so due to lack of interest. You'll see English 10B drop. That's another phase of the recommendations of NEASC and really reducing and creating more heterogeneous classes, but reducing that tracking along the way. It is a recommendation of the accreditation team that was here. We've been doing it slowly, and I've certainly given each department a good window of about 5 years to pull this off. Several jumped right in. It was very easy to do. Others have done this by grade. As with English, they started with 9th grade, doing 10th grade, and going to do 11th grade. And in other areas, we found it might not be so easy. Math is always difficult when you're looking at 4-year requirement for math. We have to be able to keep a number of options open for kids. So we have to look at that and weigh that out. And then foreign language doesn't have that B level, and science will be the next to undertake that.
Any questions on those? That's it? Okay.
Along the way, same vein, creative writing, the teacher has requested to run it as a half-year course. After 3 years of going back and forth, we've had it in as both, we've had it in as one. So we've decided to drop the full year and run the half year, both to give more kids the opportunity. It links up better with many of the other half-year courses that we have as electives, so kids could take an elective and say art the first semester and creative writing the second semester, or vice versa, or they could link it to their gym, so more kids would have an opportunity, and the teacher feels like she could get a better result from the kids. She found that the kids along third quarter and the third quarter started getting to the point of, okay, I've written enough. I've really had enough of this. So we're going to take the advice of that teacher and some of the results that she's received over the past few years. So she felt it really made sense, and we did too. Dropping Italian 3 from grade 10, I think initially we looked at it as maybe kids could come from the middle school, jump into Italian 2, then jump into Italian 3 in 10th grade. It hasn't worked out that way. It's been better to have them go through the sequence of 1, 2, and 3. As you know, we've been growing that program for 3 years now, and certainly have kept it at the junior year. In the discussions with foreign language, if we had students that were at the level of, jumping Italian 1, we could easily do that. It's not a lockstep. Yes.
Just on that comment, do you foresee in the near future in bringing Italian 2 back? Because now Italian is now available at the middle school starting in 6th grade.
No, Italian 2 is still in. There's still 1, 2, and 3.
No, I'm saying in terms of bringing it to the 9th grade and allowing Italian 2 at the 9th grade level, because now you have kids starting this year with Italian in 6th grade, so they'll have 3 years of Italian going into freshman year.
Right.
So I'm just asking, in 3 years from now, will you bring Italian 2 back at least?
I think given the
to ninth
conversation I
grade?
had with the foreign language department head, we want to look at what they really know and what they know and can do in the Italian, rather than, you know, are they getting just an introductory, or are they able to jump into that second level? You know, we also have to, believe it or not, manage it, because we have, you know, one teacher who's certified in Italian, and we have certain, you know, there's only so many kids that they can have contractually, and we have to be able to balance all of that and look at that, so.
All right.
That's always a concern along the way as the program grows and expands.
No, I understand. Again, not to keep beating it up, but like I said, Italian first, you know, this is his first year in the middle school, so in 3 years, you'll have kids with 3 years. Same thing with the French. You know, French has always been there. So you have French, too, in the 9th grade, and I think probably your problem before was that kids didn't have that experience. So all I'm asking is another year or two, look at it and look at the growth, because I know the classes are growing at the middle
Yeah, it's
school.
definitely I think it's 2 more years then we would get that first crop of kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mrs. Bonner?
Just speaking of the foreign language, I know this has been brought up before. Latin, is there any discussion of moving that to junior year versus senior year, so that kids can take advantage of it and learn more for the verbal SATs?
There's been several discussions hinged on the discussion of adding more languages, making language a requirement, adding another language. They've kind of all been meshed together, and the department head really she teaches one section. She's the only one certified to teach it. And it's very, people certified to teach Latin are very limited. So I think we're looking at all those. I would love to have it freshman year. I honestly would love to have it as a freshman year option for kids.
I'm just thinking of for testing purposes, even to move it from senior to junior year, because many parents ask me that.
Yeah.
You know, why wouldn't they have it the year when they're taking their SATs? Because it could help SAT scores.
A lot of it came down to sequencing. When we had the conversation of sequencing, all of a sudden a student would come in first year, second year, miss a year because they think Italian, and then just, you know, I think that they were worried that all of a sudden you would lose that group of kids for the final year, especially where right now we don't have it as a requirement language at all. There's always that fear that they'll lose students. And
that's understandable.
Yeah.
I have to say I agree with Mrs. Bonish. I too, this has been ongoing. People have asked you that from the school committee since you've been here.
Sure.
It's ongoing. I think I saw Mr. Hayes first, then Mr. Vail.
I'm going to steal Mr. Vail's question, I think.
Okay.
But speaking of questions that are often raised whenever we talk about foreign languages, and you touched upon it, you know, what is realistically, will we ever see Mandarin Chinese taught here at Wilmington High School?
Who's going to teach it?
Oh, there's teachers.
Oh, there are teachers.
The trouble right now is to find a certified teacher.
Yeah.
You know, that's the limitation right now. We also would have to add teachers to the department. So that's a conversation you would have to have at your level, and
I'm willing to have that conversation.
I am too.
Yeah.
I support it.
Yeah,
Sure.
And we did a survey through, you know, middle school on down to the elementary, and got some pretty good feedback about, you know, putting in the Mandarin and bringing something like that in. And the reality is, if we're looking at training kids to work in this global environment, they've got to have a good understanding of languages and cultures, and, you know, even looking at other countries and how we are able to, you know, ask good questions about other cultures that may be different. So I think, you know, that's definitely something we have to look at. We need to go in that direction.
Sure. I also wanted to compliment you and sort of the creativity with staffing in terms of bringing sign language to Wilmington High School. I think that's something that I know has been very popular. And then I would just second and third what Mrs. Bonish and Chairwoman Kane has said regarding the Latin. Absolutely, junior year.
Okay. Mr. Vail and then Mr. Marchese.
Well, I appreciated Mr. Hayes' question. That was not what I was going to ask. But I have asked that in the past, and I would urge continued expansion of the language program, and that the committee and the school district think hard about how to integrate in subjects like Latin, which I think if you look at the literature, I think most of the benefit would accrue to even earlier education in Latin, first, second, third grade, or fourth, fifth, sixth, right, to provide that basis and to help the understanding of English and all through the creative language programs, and then as the basis that you then take into Spanish and French and Italian if you're going to continue with foreign languages in high school. That wasn't my comments, though. I wanted to ask about how successful and important a program the virtual high school has been, and how many kids have been signing up for that, and what you're seeing with that experience of distance learning using the internet and computers for education. And then just the second question I was going to ask has to do with AP classes, and where we are number-wise now in terms of AP, and whether you're expanding, contracting, or keeping AP the same, for the next year or so. Virtual high school AP.
Virtual high school, as you may know, it's split into 2 semesters. We have 25 seats available to us each semester. We fill them for various courses, from science to math to literature to general. I have 2 students doing this online astronomy program this year. It's been very interesting for kids. More so for, I think, parents of younger kids. When I talk to the parents of freshmen, they're always like, when can my kid get involved in that? They really seem to be more adept and more willing. One of the things we have learned along the way is the student has to be self-motivated. It's not for everybody. And that's something that is a bit concerning, only because they're going to go to college and they're going to be stuck in that situation at some point along the way through college, because many of the colleges now are making some of their offerings required to be online. So we're trying to find that balance. But I would like to, down the road, add more seats. We have a multi-year contract with them, and it has been successful for the kids who have jumped in. And some kids are taking it in addition to their full course load. They're adding another course for fun, if you will, but other kids are taking it for remedial. Sometimes we get into a situation where a senior needs to graduate, and they, freshman year blew a course and never made it up, and now they need it. We've been able to slide them in, and they're in a position in their career where they take it seriously and do a nice job with it. So,
is it a license or budgetary issue? I mean, what's the process for adding more seats?
Paying more money. Yeah, it's they do it.
And is the marginal cost of adding a virtual high school seat less or more than the marginal cost of adding some other class?
It runs approximately 66 or 500, I forget, Paul, 65 or 600 for 25 seats each year. And then as you add them on, they'll negotiate with you, a little bit more, a little bit less. But one of the dilemmas you run into is when you have the segment of seating, you also have to have a teacher who is teaching a course for virtual high school. One of our teachers, one period a day, teaches a course online for virtual high school, and it's not all of our kids. I think one of our kids maybe, but you're teaching it across the entire virtual high school platform. So that's part of the whole connection and contract that we have with them. Yeah.
And then my question on the AP classes, and what you're seeing trend-wise, if anything, in terms of demand for those. How do we encourage more demand? And then are you adding or subtracting AP opportunities?
Flat is the only way I would describe it. It hasn't changed dramatically since I've been here. We've seen some ups and downs. We offer AP courses, and I'll give you an example, Spanish, AP Spanish. We did not run it this year because we had 3 kids sign up. We tend to take those kids and offer them the virtual high school seats. They can take that in a virtual high school setting so that they could. 1 chose to and 2 chose not to. But the other courses we have are running as they have. They've really, they're up and down. Sciences tend to be low numbers, 8, 10 kids, and then you look at the histories and the English, and they tend to be up there in the 20, 22, 24, 30, 35 range along the way. Success in our U.S. history, world history, English, AP Calculus, kids are traditionally scoring in the 3 or higher category more often than not. Most of those classes we average 4 or better. And then we have had some discussion about adding in. We added last year, if you remember, the organic chemistry. We also would like to add in a AP chemistry, and the new fine arts person, Jen Fiddler, who's K-12 visual arts liaison, has come to see me about the possibility of some type of an AP visual arts program. So that's basically where we're at. Part of our program, our conversation, I've had conversation with Mrs. Kaline, who runs the AP testing portion of the program, talked to principal at Burlington High School. Burlington received an award this year for adding more kids into AP courses, and we want to really look at kind of that pre-AP model of how do we get kids in the mode to take on that type of a course load.
Yeah, that's my next question. Like, what if anything are we doing to sort of market AP and the opportunities that AP unlocks for college-bound kids, to them at lower levels to get them thinking about the sort of AP tracks and certain things. And I don't know how do kids get information about even what AP is and how it works.
Mostly through the presentations of the program of studies, and when we go into the scheduling mode, we present to the parents. We talk to all the kids with our guidance counselors, talk to them each scheduling season. When we start up, the guidance counselors meet with the classes, talk to them about the offerings and availabilities and what they need to do to get into these tracks, if you will. I don't like to use that word, but certainly it is a heavy workload. Kids know it, and some kids love it, and some kids shy away from it. So.
Well, one thing, with everyone's permission, just one more question. I'm not sure you're the right person to ask, but I think a year or two ago we started to have a little bit of discussion about the International Baccalaureate track or program of study, and I'm not sure if more discussions have been happening, at the administration level. So I just figured I'd throw it out there to see what thought has been given about that as a degree program.
There's been discussion all along the way. We I think 2 years ago, when we talked about AP and what to do with it, and there's a lot of information coming out. Is AP the best route? Is IB the best route? What's the best route to look at? I had a conversation with Mrs. Burnham the other day about what would make sense to look at that. Would our kids be able to take on a program of that caliber and be successful? And it's part of the long-term plan, and I think it's one of the things that you have to weigh out in numbers. How many kids are actually going to get involved? And right now, we don't have a big numbers in, if you look at AP Bio, we don't have big numbers. If you look at AP Calc, last year I had 25 kids. This year I have 12. It goes up and down, and it's really, really cyclical. So you want to look at IB as a stricter requirement for who's involved, how they're involved, but they seem to be more open on are they ready? Where the AP will say, we will send you the AP potential scores for the kids that took the PSATs, and those are the kids you should be pushing into AP. So we have to look at that too, and wonder why, I guess. Where our kids, we do have kids that could be successful, but we want to be able to feed them better, and develop that feeder program. And it may go as low as the middle school, as deep as the middle school, to start that thought process.
Yeah. That's where it did start. This conversation really interests me. That's where it did start in my school system. And the 8th grade teacher would not tell the students that they did not belong in honors, thinking they're going to AP at the end, because she said, I did it so much better. So I got the pleasure every year because I was the 9th grade honors teacher, of having to tell some of the parents they were unbelievably eager to be in the honors AP program in my school. And we had way more than should have been there. There would be 20 or 25 kids in the AP courses, and sometimes 30. And I think part of that was an impression that had been built for years from 7th grade to 8th grade up. I find it interesting that the more parents in this town are not pushing for their students to be in AP courses, which is, I don't know what the reason would be. The other question I want to ask you, Mr. Tracy, the AP has a new, is this true, the AP has a new requirement that our teachers have to be like certified to teach AP?
it's not called a certification, but what they're doing, and they just did it, that's why I was gonna get to the history, they just made us change the history syllabus.
That looks
So that
excellent, that history.
that they require, they're updating each
Yep.
area, core section area, so that they raise the standard, they change the organizational style within the actual syllabus, so the teacher is expected to spend a year researching and developing a core syllabus that has to be submitted by a certain date to the College Board for approval. And if you remember back, that's why we don't have physics anymore. It didn't get approved. It never got approved. 3 tries, we didn't get it approved. All of our other courses have been approved. It's a pretty extensive process now to be approved. And I think it's good practice to make sure our teachers are going to the trainings. Our teachers have been sent out to the AP trainings that they, the first year AP teacher, the third year AP teacher. We try and get them involved in that because it really does give them an edge. It does give them a good idea how to organize their class, how to present the material, and how to really get in depth, so.
It's also a huge commitment on their part.
Absolutely.
It really is. Yeah.
Both in organizing and correcting.
And they have to trust they'll be teaching it more than 1 year.
Yeah.
To Mr. Hayes.
Just a comment on a question. Last night, I was on the DESE website, that's how I spend my free time, and I was looking at our AP scores, and I think the latest data they had was from 09, 010, and if you take out the AP biology scores, approximately 85% of our AP students score 3, 4, or 5 on their AP exam, which I think is just fantastic. And then my question, though, would be correlating with Mr. Vail's question, in terms of expanding the AP offerings. It's something I've brought up in the past, and I know there's several surrounding high schools that when we talk about science, they offer AP chemistry, they offer AP physics, and I know we offer AP biology, but even AP biology, like you said, we get low enrollment rate. So, in particularly focusing on the science department, I'd like to see some more and strengthen the existing AP courses. And how you do that, I'm not sure. It's up to you. But I'd like to see a higher enrollment and more courses offered, particularly in the science department.
That's why I'd like to go to a K-12 STEM director.
And you will see that we are in discussion now of how to make those changes, make the adjustments, and believe me, I'm not afraid to make a change based on poor scores. I really, I think our kids deserve to have the best opportunity available to them, to be able to take that course and use it for college, for the colleges that do accept the AP.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? I was afraid you were raising your hand, Mr. Vail. Another question. Did you have more?
I need to page 31.
Yeah.
We did add one new course, engineering design from the math department. That is our only additional course, if you will, that's new. This is going to be a multi-phase course. We want to look at it first from the math side. Math department head, CTL, Ms. Peters, has been working with people in Bill Ricca, who have run this program for several years now, going back and forth with them, talking with them, strategizing how to best develop this course from a different perspective, the technology perspective, not just doing the math problems, but applying the math. It will be a senior level course, pre-calculus, A-level pre-calculus to get in. And then as we evolve this course, it would link to physics, the physics department, so we'd have another true interdisciplinary course that would plug together and looking at real-world application of the mathematics. And certainly encouraging more kids to get involved in engineering.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on that? I just had one question on film studies, page 20. It's going to become a year, instead of a one-semester course, it's going to become year-long. I was just wondering if it's supposed to be 5 credits instead of 2.5. I just wanted to point that out. I saw that.
You are correct. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll fix it. Thank you.
I knew Robert would get all the details, and
I figured he'd catch that one.
If he came, I've got to get a detail.
Focus more on the big picture.
See, he's listening to me. That's good. Thank you. Does anyone have any more questions for Mr. Tracy? Mr. Marchese?
I guess it's more of a comment than a question, is going forward, as you said, next 32 months is going to be an exciting opportunity for Wilmington as we go into the new building and the curriculum is going to be changing and all these things, is that it's nice to keep thinking about the curriculum and for the changing world and updating the curriculum accordingly. Again, and not to belabor the language stuff, but, you have, Spanish 4 and 5 and, French 4, but you only have Italian 1 through 3. We don't have other different languages because this is the traditional course that's been taking place. But just because it's been done that way doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way. So as we go through the next 32 months, as we get into the new building, we start thinking about the curriculum, what it's going to be. Let's really look at what a 21st century education really is going to be and what that curriculum is going to really look like. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tracy.
Thank you, Mr. Tracy. Very nice. Excellent.
Focus at the next meeting.
So we'll be voting on this, the July, don't we wish, January 25th meeting. Okay. Other reports, any subcommittee reports tonight? No, I
No
don't think
subcommittee
so.
reports tonight, other than just a reminder that the high school building committee meets tomorrow, 7 o'clock at Town Hall.
Right, okay, thank you. Any correspondence? Secretary Hayes.
Yes, one piece of correspondence. Dear Mrs. Benton, just a quick note to you and the members of the Wilmington School Committee to say thank you for allowing the WHS girls basketball team to travel to Florida for the KSA Invitational Tournament. The girls did extremely well. They had 2 wins and 1 loss in the championship game. But much more importantly, they had a wonderful overall experience. You would be very, very proud of the girls, both on and off the court. They represented Wilmington well everywhere they went. Their sportsmanship and team spirit never went unnoticed by anyone they encountered. I wanted to just acknowledge your role in Coach Keene's tireless efforts in making magical days, as they say in Disney World, really happen. They will have these wonderful memories for a lifetime. So thanks to you and the school committee again. Sincerely, Mary Stewart.
Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. All right. Future meeting dates and agenda items. I just want to add in here the January 18th date at 3:30, if people can make it. I understand it's very difficult for people who are still working. But if you can make it, it'll be very helpful with the negotiations that we'll have to do with the teachers around evaluation. And then January 25th, and we'll see if we all remember to wear black that night. So that'll be interesting. And January 30th, the Selectmen's meeting. I just have one question on agenda items. We did not actually finish up working on the strategic plan
Correct.
for this?
We're still working on it.
Working on,
I'm gonna
okay,
bring it
so
back.
just to keep it in mind, okay. So if you have anything that you'd like, let us know, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Dr. Quick.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Mrs. Bonish. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you, unanimous, Linda. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.